Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining me again this morning on Next on the Tee. I'm your host, Chris Mascaro, and today I have the privilege of speaking with the founder and CEO of Revolution Golf, Justin Tupper. I'll talk with Justin about what inspired him to start Revolution Golf and producing one of the best golf instructional videos I've ever seen, Gary Player, A Game for Life. You've heard us talking about that DVD a couple of times in the past when we've had Mr. Player and Peter Kessler on the show. Now I'm excited to talk with Justin about the behind-the-scenes work and all the experiences that he had during the filming. And Justin is going to be along with me here in just a moment. But before we get started, I wanted to kick off the show like we do every single week by saluting the brave men and women serving in our military. We want to thank you for your daily sacrifices and all you guys and gals do to keep the rest of us safe. We also want to thank those of you who serve or have served in every branch of the military and public service. We truly appreciate what you do to preserve our freedoms and our liberties. It's through your strength and efforts that our way of life is even possible. Our sincere thanks as well to Sean Cruz and all the great folks over at the Armed Forces Radio Network. It's an honor for us to be a part of your network. You can find our show by going to armedforcesradionetwork.org. We also want to thank everyone listening in on iHeartRadio, as well as great radio sites across the internet like Spreaker, Stitcher, TuneIn, iTunes, Player.fm, and Blog Talk Radio. I also want to give a special shout-out to our good friends Mike Kovacs, Ben Kerr, Mark Medeski, and the rest of the great staff over at lastwordonsports.com. Check those guys out online and on Twitter. Their site's absolutely fantastic and contains great content across every sport, and their staff of writers are wonderful. You can go online and find them at lastwordonsports.com. Check it out. You're going to love it, and then bookmark it. Plus, if someone's dragging you to the mall, it's the holiday season, folks, so I'm sure you're going out and spending time out and about doing your holiday shopping, or you're at the grocery store. If you're just tired, really, of the same old that you hear on your commute, download the Player.fm or Stitcher app on your smartphone and take us with you everywhere you go. Let us give you something fun to focus on while you're out and about. Our show is brought to you by the great folks at Kyvan Foods. Former Bengals and Falcons tight end Reggie Kelly has created a wonderful array of products. His salsas, sauces, and spices are going to liven up everything you put on your holiday table, your tailgate table, or just on your everyday dinner and lunch tables. So wow your friends at your next house party, or like I say, your upcoming holiday parties, by adding Kyvan products to everything on your menu. Check them out online. You can find them at Kyvan82.com. That's Kyvan, K-Y-V-A-N, the number 82.com. All right, now joining me on the Kyvan Foods guest line is Justin Tupper. After a successful career in real estate, Justin was able to focus his career on his true passion, the game of golf, and he is now the founder and CEO of Revolution Golf, which is a direct-to-consumer and marketer of golf products, video tips, instructional videos, newsletters, all kinds of great things and great content around the great game of golf. Justin and Revolution Golf produced, like I said at the top, my favorite instructional DVD of all time, one you've heard us talk about on the show long before we ever invited Justin to join us, and that's Gary Player, A Game for Life. We've been privileged to have Mr. Player and Kessler join us a couple of times in the last 18 months. We talked about the DVD amongst many other things, and Justin was the producer of that DVD. The information, the instruction, and the conversation between Mr. Player and Peter Kessler on A Game for Life are timeless. And something, for those of you who go out and buy that DVD, you're going to be able to hand that down to future generations who want to understand everything behind the game of golf. Not just the swing, but the philosophies, exercise, and stretching, and everything that goes into the great game of golf. And long after DVDs are obsolescent and we're on to whatever the next thing is, this DVD is going to live in the cloud. This is something that people for generation upon generation are going to be able to refer back to. So I'm very excited to have Justin next on the tee with me this morning. Good morning, Justin. Thank you for being here.
Good morning, and thank you for that introduction. You encapsulated a lot of what our hopes were of that DVD, and appreciate you for saying those kind words.
Absolutely. Now, Justin, before we get into all the golf and about Revolution Golf, talk about your time in real estate and the success that you had there and how you were able to kind of parlay that into doing what you love most, or your passion around the game of golf. You're still a pretty young guy.
Well, I appreciate that. Sure. I was living in Beaufort, South Carolina. At the top of the show, you made mention to the great men and women of our armed forces, and it's a beautiful coastal town. Some of the armed forces folks that are listening know it from Parris Island, which is the Marine Corps training depot for the East Coast. So I know a lot of people have probably spent some very either hot or difficult times on Parris Island because they build Marines there 51 weeks a year, and it's a wonderful seaside town. We're very proud of the military there, as well as we have an air station. So big military town, great place, gorgeous, historical town. Went to the University of South Carolina, did several things right after college. One of them was worked for DreamWorks. I was a media arts major, and sort of video film creation has always been a passion of mine. And then returned home to Beaufort, where from 2000, say about 4 to 2008, I sold a lot of real estate. And used the web a lot to do that, used my skills with video production and the ability to build websites very quickly and inexpensively when people weren't doing that. And it led to a lot of success. During that time was pre what I'll call the real estate bubble, and there was a buying frenzy down there. And it was an interesting time to be in the real estate business because of all of the factors that were made it so crazy. And when I say crazy, tons of people buying. Obviously, that was a time when banks were loaning money to nearly everybody. In fact, I literally walked out of a closing one day in early 2008. And this was sort of right before the bubble kind of hit. And a couple had bought a house for $650,000. Their combined income was about $125,000. They got $25,000 extra back at closing and had put no money down. And I said, you know what, this ain't gonna work.
Wow. So
I'm no financial strategist or can predict financial futures. I just thought to myself, this is a fun ride, but this has got to come to an end. And right. It was about that time. I was having fun in real estate. Things were good, but my father, always instilled in me to, the age-old adage is if you find something that you truly love, you'll never work a day in your life because, it'll be fun to do something that is highly passionate for you. And so I took that opportunity, having had success in real estate, to sort of evaluate that. And I thought, I've been a passionate golfer all my life. Really, really love the game, from the history side of things to the instruction to just everything about the game of golf. And I started thinking about that time, this video thing on the internet is going to be big. YouTube is just starting to really make it so anybody could be a video publisher. But my thought was, first and foremost, to sort of create, just do something with a passion with I've never called Revolution Golf a startup or never, early on it was never a thought that this was going to be the big business it is today. Instead it was, let's work on a passion project and see what can happen and use my intuition as both my business intuition and being a passionate golfer and understanding the psyche of us crazy golfers to be able to, and I say crazy in a very loving fashion,
of course,
to be able to start something interesting and something that can hopefully move the needle. And that's when I sort of started going with a very simple blog and the idea of using video, organized video, and I'll come back to that one second, to help people all over the world, understand and get better at the game of golf. Because I think the crux of any golfer, whether it's Jordan Spieth, Tiger Woods, or Mr. Jones, who's on the tee in a Muni right now in South Florida, is you want to get better. It's a lifelong game of getting better. And the other thing about golf, which sort of leads, I know we'll be talking about a Game for Life and Mr. Player's product shortly, but my father always told me when I was, in high school to spend more time on golf because it was a game for life. It was something I'd be able to do forever. That the time on the soccer field and football field would soon come to an end. No matter how good you are at it, it comes to an end eventually. In golf, you can play forever. And so, that's a lot of the inspiration that went into Revolution Golf. And I'm happy to say it started at very humble beginnings, and it's continuing to grow at a rampant rate with people and subscribers from all over the world. And we are continuing to build the platform. We have lots of exciting things that we can talk about shortly on the horizon. And we're hard at work having a lot of fun. And it went from me as a single individual to 3 of us to over 60 of us now in the organization that are helping build Revolution Golf.
So you mentioned a moment ago, Justin, organized video. So yeah. I'm curious, was that something you looked at? I mean, there's lots of, you get your golf.com and golfdigest.com and stuff like that. There's a lot of golf content out there. But was that something you took a look at to say, you know what, there's not an organized library of golf videos or tips, and that's just not good enough what's out there, and I can do it better?
Yes, the answer is yes, and it came from a couple things. People have probably stayed away from putting together instructional platforms like Revolution Golf because their answer to that is, there's YouTube where there's all these videos there for people to consume at no cost. And why there is, people really prefer organized instruction. For instance, one of the complaints forever from the traditional magazine subscriber, I'm not going to pick on any particular magazine, they're great, they've been a massive, massive inspiration to what we do, but the fact of the matter is it's a magazine has a lot of instruction in it, but 1 month, if I'm a subscriber and I pick up in 1 month, XYZ pro is telling me to do something. The next month, another pro is telling me to do something entirely different. People just don't like confusion, and they easily get confused with the game of golf. We all do. And so the idea with Revolution Golf is why we have different instructors. Many of our subscribers sort of follow one instructor, and they ask questions to that instructor, and he replies to them, and they build a bond no matter where they are in the world with that specific instructor. And it's kind of, like they can, it helps ease the confusion of the game when it's just you sort of talking and listening and taking the advice on a sort of a one-on-one basis. And I'm not saying that, we don't have people, Revolution instructors that can contradict each other, because that's just that's the style of teachers from all over the world. Good golf instruction to me are people who have the ability to explain things in a manner that is understood by lots of people, and that's why I think it's really hard to say, this guy's a great instructor, but this guy is not, because listen, we can all relate. A class in high school or something, we had a teacher that really just communicated great with us, and therefore we loved science more than something else because the communication was better from there. And so, that's a lot of the thought is giving people a place where they can get and instruct a particular instructor, sort of their body of work, and be able to follow it in any aspect of the game.
Right. So, Justin, we've started, kind of hinting about, the DVD Gary Player, A Game for Life, and like I say, it's simply, outstanding, and it's been wonderful to have the opportunity to talk to Peter Kessler and Mr. Player on the show a few times, and their experience with putting that video together and working with you. What we were so impressed with is, what they had to say about, the actual DVD. So what I, wanted to get from you is, you're the producer of that DVD. You know, you were essentially doing all the behind-the-scenes work, and I wanted to kind of get your thoughts and impressions of, you know, what was your experience like working with those two gentlemen and putting that video together?
Well, the experience was amazing working with both of those guys. And with Mr. Player, it's just, you know, there's as a golf fan and a historian of the game, which I would call myself a amateur historian of the game of golf, you hear so much about these greats of the game. And being able to spend time with them and realizing that someone in Mr. Player's case is exactly how you would imagine him to be. He's a wonderful man. He feels like a grandfather to everyone around him, whether you're on the set, you're working food and beverage on the set, to a cameraman, to me, the producer, to even to Peter. He just has that. His passion is so deep. It is his DNA. His ability, he knows the subject so well that it was incredible to shoot the DVD with him, because you needed no second takes. I mean, you just say, here's the subject, here's what we're working on, here's this part of it, and boom, roll cameras and let him go. And it worked really great when you didn't even give him a heads up what we were shooting next, because you wanted sort of the organic authenticity to come right out of him. And, at Revolution Golf, we've amassed this massive subscribership of people all over the world, and we have the ability to get to touch and to talk to so many people that I kind of thought of it as a responsibility, frankly, to go to some of the greats of the game while they're still, frankly, around and healthy and happy and willing to share and encapsulate some of the things that made them great on video. So it will be around, just as you said, forever. It's in the cloud now. It's on DVDs. It's in people's shelves. It will live on longer than Revolution Golf or than the players themselves. And in Mr. Player's case, a lot of people realize, but a lot of people don't, that he's the only player to ever win all the majors on both tours. So
right.
He's won all the majors on the PGA Tour and the Champions Tour. And so one of the most amazing things about him is his longevity in the game under extreme circumstances, traveling all over the world. I mean, he's traveled well over 3.5 million miles when it used to take 42 hours to get from South Africa to the U.S. And he has been able to enjoy the game, much as I spoke of at the beginning, for his entire life at a very competitive level. And so I wanted to hear from him why and what goes into that and what does it take to do that. There's lots of DVDs and video productions out there that can tell you how to grip the golf club and tell you where to take it on the takeaway and where you should look at the top and how your shoulder turn should look. There's lots of those that have been produced. We're going to continue to produce even more of that kind of stuff. But I really wanted to start a series, which I've coined in-house the Legend series, where we go to these folks and record and get down. It's a little cheesy to say they're secret sauce, but really, what made them a champion. And it was working with Peter Kessler. He's one of the great interviewers in all of golf. I believe he had a stint on the Golf Channel at its early beginnings. But just you want to talk about a guy who is just incredible about golf history. I mean, you don't have to. He knows every date, every year, every tournament, every outcome, who finished second, specific shots. I mean, it's not possible to do the homework that guy has lodged in his head, and so it made it great. And there was clearly good chemistry between Mr. Player and Peter because of that. I mean, Peter, it's like a great player appreciates the fact that someone like Peter can just off the cuff talk about Open Championship rounds that he played in and specific shots and, scores and things like that, I think it just leads to a better conversation because the athlete's much more comfortable.
Yeah, no question. And Peter Kessler is absolutely outstanding. Peter's been a wonderful guest on our show a couple of different times, and they don't call him the voice of golf for nothing. And you're right. I don't think that there is a golf historian, any better and knows any more about the game than Peter Kessler does. He's a wonderful treasure in and of himself. Mm-hmm. Justin, talk about shooting the DVD. How long did it take for you guys to actually put it all together?
Sure. So. Again, the players were amazing to work with. When I was working with Mark Player, who's Mr. Player's son, on what would need to be done for the production, I said, we can go at this thing hard and get it done in sort of 3 days. And Mark said, no, let's do 5 days. Let's get it right. I said, you got it. That's a producer's dream.
Right.
Most of the time you're fighting and scratching for every additional hour. It was completely opposite with the Player family. It was, look, let's do 5 days. We're still going to give you every single hour we possibly can. Let's just go at it. And so it was funny. We actually were planning on shooting the DVD at a golf course called the Concession Club, but down in Florida, and it was a time where we had talked to them, and they said absolutely come over. And then about 2 weeks prior to it, there was the president was playing there, had requested to play on the same dates that we were going to be shooting part of the time, and obviously once that happens, the Secret Service kind of shuts down.
They bumped
your opportunity to do much around there. So we ended up. Mark Player called in a favor to Mr. Nicholas over at the Bears Club in Jupiter, which actually worked out terrific because it's an incredibly beautiful place. It's not far from Mr. Player's home in Jupiter, on Jupiter Island, so it made him happy being obviously able to work out in his home gym and sleep in his own bed at night. And then the people at the Bears Club were fantastic. They gave us the run of the place, and besides Michael Jordan shooting, flying through every once in a while, it was a very great place to. Oh man, those guys down there at that club they're hilarious. They play in these foursomes they each ride their own cart, and all their carts go about 30 miles an hour, and Jordan's there every morning at 7 a.m. to get 36 in before lunch, and it's just it's a funny place, but absolutely gorgeous. It was wonderful. 5 days there. They, like I said, they gave us the keys to the kingdom. They treated us terrifically, and particularly there's an area there that has about 6 what I would call small par 3 to par 4 practice holes. That was just all ours. It was in immaculate condition. We could do whatever we want. We could sort of make our own mess there and be able to clean it up by night without having to worry about the golfers coming through. And it was great. Mr. Player was extremely involved with Peter and myself and what should go into the production and what parts of the game that he obviously says are the secrets to his longevity. And so he made sure we covered those. But it was great fun. One of the things that we obviously cover is bunker play. And as a kid growing up in Beaufort, South Carolina, my mom and I would always go over to the Masters on practice round days, typically on Tuesday.
Nice.
As a kid, right? But way before it was really hard to get practice round tickets, and prior to the lottery and process, and you could literally walk up to the gate and pay.
Really?
When I was a kid, yeah, you could do that and even in the early '90s, you could certainly do that. Until sort of the Tiger era started was when it got really difficult for even practice round tickets. But the point of that is we used to go and we'd go over, and I'd see almost every year on Tuesday, Mr. Player would be in a bunker with one of the greats of the game. I've seen him give Ernie Els, I've seen him give Trevor Immelman, I've seen him give a lot of the South African guys, but I've even seen him give Tiger Woods sort of a bunker lesson, and he kind of hangs out in that bunker on Tuesdays or used to, and help these young pros with a little bit of bunker play.
Wow.
And so I've always wondered what went on in that lesson, and so I finally this was an opportunity for me to say, tell us about what you tell these guys, and he's just let them go. And so it was that was a great fun sort of lifelong dream for me to understand what he was always telling this guy. Because the bunker, when you're a patron, the bunker is 50 yards away from where the rope area is, so you could never hear what they were saying. You could just see him in there in the passion which he would teach. So
I've watched that segment of the DVD. I've watched other ones where he is giving bunker lessons. One of the things that I've always thought was interesting to hear him comment on is him saying there is more things to read in a bunker than there is on a green, and him going through all of those sort of scenarios. That was something that I had certainly never given any thought to. Justin, there had to be some downtime during the shootings, whether it was lunch or in the evenings. What was it like talking with Peter and Mr. Player when the cameras weren't rolling?
That was to me, it was a week-long opportunity for memories. But for me, we did several things. We went to a restaurant in Jupiter one night, but the most memorable thing was eating at Mr. Player's house at his dining room table with him, his wife, Vivian, Mark Player, Peter, and myself. And I'm sure Peter would say that was one of the more memorable things he's ever done as well. And it was a nice seated dinner at the dining room table. And, there were no cameras on, there were no microphones, and hearing some of the stories and, his incredible passion. We were actually talking at one time about Tiger Woods at dinner, and he stood up from the table and grabbed his butter knife as a grip of to act like that was the grip of the club, and showing us things that he thinks that are very important in the golf swing, and it was just really, really cool. And really being in his home, and really. He's a very proud man of his heritage in South Africa, and obviously spends now most of his time over there on his farm raising racing horses. But the images around his house, and frankly around their office they have the Black Knight Company, and has an office at the Cliffs down near Greenville, South Carolina. But all the images and pictures of him with Nelson Mandela and presidents, and at fires in tribal villages in Africa with kids from all over the world. I mean, it was just a really amazing experience to sort of see that and really understand that we see these guys on TV and all the time, but they're real people that I know it sounds a little crazy, but they're real people who live in a house and have pictures of their memories on the wall, and those memories for him are pretty worldly and really amazing.
I bet. Mr. Player is so fantastic in the DVD, talking about the mechanics of the golf swing, how to practice, how his contemporaries swung the golf club, and telling stories about his career. Was there something that struck you during the shooting of the video that you said, wow, I had no idea?
It's interesting. I would yes. I would probably say over the entire time of our shooting, the thing that really amazed me the most was Mr. Player's absolute awe of Ben Hogan, and really realizing, Mr. Hogan is somebody that I'm 40 years old, and I certainly know a lot about him, but I obviously never had a chance to spend any time around or really understood how great his game was. I never got to see him hit a golf ball. I've seen very up close. I've had the great pleasure of seeing Tiger Woods and Sir Nick Faldo and, Phil Mickelson and all kinds of players. And I certainly understand when there's players on the range that strike the ball different, that carry themselves different. But Mr. Player talked a lot about Ben Hogan and a lot about the times that he had the opportunity to be around Mr. Hogan, and really his overall sort of respect and appreciation of Mr. Hogan's work ethic, and that, to me, that was really, really interesting. I didn't realize sort of the impact of Ben Hogan on even the great players, some of the greatest players, like Mr. Nicklaus and Palmer and them. They were all impacted greatly by Hogan, and I didn't realize that to the extreme. I didn't realize.
Right. You mentioned a moment ago, Justin, about eating at Mr. Player's house, going out to restaurants with him. He has always been such a huge advocate for exercise and and eating right, eating clean. Talk about getting to see that up close.
Well, there is no question. He certainly, that is the way he lives. He lives a very clean eating, lots of fruit, lots of vegetables, little bit of, protein, no junk food around him. He just doesn't do that. He eats, if he's hungry, he eats a banana, and he eats a lot, frankly. That's one of the things I was amazed at. I mean, he's always eating, and he's like, but it's nuts and berries and fruits and things like that. But he's always eating, and his energy level is extremely high. And he will be the first to tell you he loves chocolate cake. He just doesn't eat chocolate cake all the time. He favored. I didn't see him eat chocolate cake, but he'll tell you, I love chocolate cake. He understands we're human. He doesn't expect people to maybe live and do the things that he does, but he is passionate about helping people get just a little bit better. Is a lot better than most of society is today. So he absolutely does, and he's strong as an ox. He's that to me was the other thing is you hear about all the push-ups and sit-ups and sprints and things like that. Well, he absolutely does all of that. But when we shot the film, shot the video, he was 78 years old, and he often hits his stomach, and it's a board. And the other thing that I couldn't believe is when we would take breaks, he's always doing something. And one afternoon, we had a break for lunch, and he had a little lunch, and I had a little lunch. And then he called me over, and he had gotten Callaway had sent him some new golf clubs. And he set up, and he starts hitting 4-irons across at this green that was about 190 yards away. And I just stood there and sort of talked with him and about the clubs, literally leaning on his bag, as close as you could, safely be to somebody hitting a golf ball. Right. And the speed, and not only the speed, but the compression that he still gets from a golf ball at 78 years old is like, a 30-year-old guy. I mean, he does. You think of these guys, and you sort of see them as they get older, as kind of puffing the golf ball. He absolutely compresses a 4-iron. It's a tight draw with it. I mean, just the speed of his hips, the speed of his swing still is just absolutely amazing. So to me, that was the single most impressive thing is, and not only impressive, but inspirational, seeing that at 78 years old, he can hit it great. Right. Hits it great, and I wouldn't call him short by any stretch of the imagination. But just really, that was really interesting to see how by him staying so fit and being so strong. And I've had the pleasure now to meet him, Mr. Palmer, and Mr. Nicklaus, and then I've met lots of other golfers. But it seems like those three guys, when you shake those three guys' hands, even more so than anybody else, they have these just really strong hands that leaves an impression on you every time you shake their hands. I mean, these guys have just hit so many golf balls. Their hands are abnormally strong. to this day. I know, and that's another thing.
I know it's one thing that Mr. Player has talked about in the past. When I've brought up, those gentlemen when he's been on the show and we've talked about the big three, and particularly Mr. Palmer. He's talked about the incredible strength that Arnold Palmer has in his hands, and I think that's something we've heard, through the course of history since Arnold was playing the game, is the incredibly strong hands and forearms that he has. But I know Mr. Player, and I believe it's in this video, talked about being with Mr. Palmer over in South Africa on a gold mine, and there's a huge piece of gold sitting there when they've been talking with the foreman or the owner of the gold mine, and the gold mine owner always talked about anyone who could pick up that piece of gold could keep it, and Mr. Palmer went over, grabbed it, picked it right up, and walked off with a big piece of gold.
Yep. That he told that story. Mr. Player also does that. I don't want to call it a trick. It's he can take two golf clubs, like two long irons, a 3 and a 4 iron, and it's hard to explain this over the radio, but he can hold with two fingers by the grip without the help of any other fingers. And I actually have some pictures of it. But we had big burly guys on the set, from our head photographer to some of the key grip guys. I mean, these guys are big fellas. And he bet all of them a brand new set of Callaway with the leather bag and everything if they could do it. And he would do it, and he'd hold it for like 10 seconds, and nobody could come close to it. It was just incredible. And it's not like a leverage trick or anything. It's just incredibly strong hands, like hands of a mountain climber. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you mentioned, in Mr. Player is, he's in his late 70s now, and one of the things Peter Kessler shared, about sort of off the camera when you guys were shooting was how amazed he was at the number of shots that Mr. Player would hit while you guys were either, like I say, on a break or setting up the next shot. Peter said he'd be sitting under a tent, while Mr. Player is out there just hitting golf shot after golf shot. Did you observe the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, that's how that happened when I observed him hitting those 4 irons. Like, he never sits still. He works on his game all the time still at 79 years old. I mean, without question, Peter's exactly right. We'd take a break, he would go over and he'd hit some shots. He'd hit hybrids, he'd hit short irons. He'd just work on his game, and subsequently I've been able to spend time with Mr. Player and the players at, say, the Masters during the week of the Masters. Mark Player does a beautiful event as part of their charity golf tournament on the Monday after the Masters, and then they entertain the entire week of the Masters. And every day it's done at Champions Retreat in Augusta. And every morning Mr. Player hits the gym, and then he's hitting balls, and he's practicing his game, or he's hitting chips, or he's hitting ball, or putting. And he hits the gym for an hour, and he does that for a couple hours every single day. That's what he does.
Wow.
It's a relentless pursuit of the game, and it's just incredible.
You mentioned a few minutes ago, Justin, about Mr. Player's admiration for Ben Hogan, and when I was doing the research for this show, I watched a video of you sort of talking about the process and talking about the video from a year or so ago on Google Plus. But one of the stories that you shared, that he shared, was about Ben Hogan's focus and intensity, and that story was around him playing with Claude Harmon at the Masters, particularly them playing the par 3 12th hole. Do you mind sharing that story with our listeners?
No, that's a great story, and I've heard Mr. Player tell that story a few times. I actually heard him at breakfast a couple weeks ago here in New York City, and I have one other story that I'll add in that's a quick one after this, but he said that he was talking about Hogan was playing in a round in a tournament with Claude Harmon, who Claude Harmon was he won the Masters, and he was a longtime pro at Seminole, and he was also up at Winged Foot. And obviously the Harmon name is synonymous with teaching now. But a great champion. And Hogan and Harmon were playing, and I won't even try to remember the year or the particular round, but they were on number 12 at Augusta. And Hogan always talked about that you hit it at the center of that green all 4 rounds and get out of there, just don't mess with that hole. And Claude Harmon got up. The pin was on the right side of the green. Hits it, goes in the hole. The patrons at Augusta give him a rowdy applause. And then Mr. Hogan gets up, hits it into the center of the green, as he always did, and they walked around Rays Creek. They get on the green. Claude Harmon pulls his ball out of the hole to some more applause by the patrons. Hogan rolls in his 25-foot birdie putt for 2. They're walking off the green, and Hogan says, "Claude," and Claude turns around because this was not typical for Mr. Hogan to speak with you during a competitive round of golf. And Claude turns around clearly thinking that he was going to get some praise from the greatest ball striker to ever play the game. And he says, "Claude, do you know that's the first time I've ever made a 2 on this hole in competition?" And he just kept walking to the 13th tee. Now, the question Mr. Player was saying was that for an intimidation factor? But he said that, that Hogan didn't break smile or break stride in that comment, and that he didn't say anything about the 1, but clearly told him that was his first time in competition taking a 2, making 2 on the hole. So I thought that was really, really interesting. And then the other story, the Hogan story that Mr. Player has told and people have heard, but he does tell it a lot, and he loves the story. And it was early in Mr. Player's career. He was playing over here in the States, played a really great round of golf, and was in the locker room changing shoes after the round and putting his bag together to head home for the evening. And Ben Hogan was in the locker room and was heading towards the door and sort of looked over and saw Mr. Player there. And he said to Mr. Player, looked at him and said, "Hey, great round today." He said, "You're going to be a great player someday. Do you practice?" And Mr. Player always says, he said, "Oh, my God, here's Hogan speaking to me." And he said, he wanted to say, "Yes, sir, every single day, as hard as I possibly can." But he says, "Yes, sir, every day." And he said that Hogan looked at him and said, "Double it." And then he walked out of the locker room. He didn't say another word to him. So
wow.
He said that was a story. He said it was just in a very stoic Hogan fashion, said double it, and just walked out. And he said that was with him and was the motivation for many of his practice rounds after that.
Wow. That's a great story.
Yeah,
Justin,
really
let's talk about some of the other things going on at Revolution Golf. You've got other great teachers of the game like Jim McClain. He's got a DVD on there, The Building Blocks Approach, and some of what he talks about in there are death moves that we all do to kill our swings. Can you talk a little bit about what we can find on that DVD?
Sure. I mean, Jim is one of the greats in modern teaching. He's a guy that has, what is great about Jim is he came up from Texas. He learned from some of the greats like Ken Venturi and Jackie Burke. He has been one of the great teachers and mentors for so many professionals now. And the thing about Jim is he's still an active teacher. He has golf schools, 10 golf schools all over the world, including his famous one down at Doral in Florida, which, by the way, is getting a makeover still from the Donald Trump, and they're building just this incredible facility that has all this technology on it, powered by Apple, and they have these incredible everything from TrackMan to these other sort of weighted things that you stand on that tells you, weight transfer and all kinds of stuff. But the point of all this is Jim is a teacher and has been a teacher all his life and has dedicated himself to being a teacher, and therefore has taught thousands and thousands of people, from amateurs to some of the great female and male players in the world. And Jim just sees, he sees repetitive, what he calls death moves, things that people do in their golf swing that once you do them will inhibit you from being a consistent player. And it's just through observation and through thousands and thousands of hours of that. And so we were able to create, a product, a video product around that. And in fact, we've also created some software where you can sort of take a survey from Jim, and he can help identify, through your questions what your number one death move is. And so it's just a big principle of his golf teaching is, look, Jim teaches a 8-step swing, and then there are parameters within every step of the golf swing that you can stay inside of. He certainly understands that everybody swings the club a little bit different because we're a different size, we're different strength, and so on. But there are parameters that you must live within. And when you get way outside of some of these parameters, he considers those death moves. And, it is a dramatic word, but he thinks they're that serious. He takes them that serious about the game. So
right.
Jim's a great teacher. Jim is not only a great teacher, but he is cultivating a ton more great teachers. I think he has, under his umbrella of teachers, he has 10 of the latest, top 40 under 40 teachers. So he has, 20% of them or so are under
right.
his umbrella. So he does great things for the game and great things for golf instruction.
Absolutely right. Justin, what's unique about you and your products when I go and look around on revolutiongolf.com is you have a true passion about what you put out there, and you believe so much in it that, you give your customers a 365-day money-back guarantee. If the customer doesn't like it, if they don't think it's all that you think it is, even a year later, you tell them it's okay to send it back and you're going to give their money back. Talk about your sort of overall philosophy about the content and the products that, you provide for people and make available on revolutiongolf.com.
We thanks for bringing that up. I mean, it is something that is in our DNA at Revolution Golf, and it is something that we, believe so wholeheartedly in, that we don't believe we're worthy of someone's hard-earned money unless we can help them get better at the game. And that's why we say, any time over 365 days of trying it, if you're not improving, then no questions asked. We're not gonna, we're not gonna put you through a big questionnaire or anything like that. We're just gonna simply refund your money because that's not the principle that we built the company around. Our goal is to help as many people as possible around the world get better at the game, and obviously we have to charge money for that at some level to some people because, we all have bills to pay and we all have to, and in order to continue to do the things that we're doing, let's face it, it does need revenue, but we think it's that important. We understand that there's no secret sauce, there's no magic pill in golf, but with proper instruction and some practice and some consumption of great information, that you will get better at the game. That you can get better through practice and understanding of the game. Really, one of the things, this sounds so incredibly basic, but one of the things is just helping people understand the golf swing, and people will get better simply through that. And it sounds almost silly to say that, but that's the truth of it. So many people have such a poor understanding or an assumption of what needs to be done in a golf swing to create proper golf shots. That is most of the battle, and it sounds overly simple, but that's the truth. And we have other great instructors besides Jim. We have Martin Chuck, who I think is one of the great instructors in the game of golf right now that we sort of found by fate. We've just added another guy named Andrew Rice, who I think is one of the this guy he's so into the science and understanding of golf and helping it become more easy for people all over the world that I think he will, go down as one of the great golf instructors 10, 15 years from now. And we have other people that we are recording stuff with, and we'll be bringing them out. Some of them are some of the top-ranked instructors in the world, and some of them are some of the greats of the game. I've also had the privilege to spend time with Sir Nick Faldo, who, I think is one of the great strategists of the game of golf, 6-time major champion. Did it all by hard work, lots of golf ball, but just a real great strategist. Really, closed the deal on a lot of tournaments when he was near the top or had the opportunity, and did that by great strategy on the golf course that I don't think is thought about by even the people who are playing at any course at any level. So we've got some great things happening with Sir Nick Faldo in the future. And loads of other things. Revolution Golf we have an entirely new platform that we've spent lots of hours and lots of money on, and we're excited about. We'll be launching that at the beginning of January, so it'll be a new looking Revolution Golf. It'll be more user friendly, and we've taken what we've learned over the last 5 years and spent a lot of time developing this new website. And with the new website, there's going to be a host of other new software products that we'll be producing that will be, in the mobile age that we're all living in. So we have lots of cool stuff coming out in 2015 that we've put a lot of thought. We've hired some of the best people in the world to help us build and develop those, all in the vein of helping our subscribers get better at the game.
That's fantastic. Now, you mentioned subscribers. When you go to revolutiongolf.com today, there's some great free content on there. Plus, you have the option to subscribe and really upgrade to RG Plus. Talk about what you get with RG Plus and your memberships on that site. RG. So the subscriber to Revolution Golf will get just a normal subscriber. It gets a daily video on golf instruction and has the ability to have conversation with our instructors, ask questions about various topics. They also will get offers that we put together through some of the great brands in golf. Because of our power of community, we get the ability to offer products, offer training aids that are at a price that are not advertised on normal websites. So we get big price breaks, and we pass those on to all of our subscribers. With RG Plus, they often get even bigger price breaks. They get a few things that are video-based that a normal subscriber doesn't get, such as we have something called RG Live, where we do live webcasts with our pros. Mr. Player did one. We'll do another one this year as well. We do them with Jim McClain from time to time, Martin Chuck, Dr. Gio Valiente. Andrew Rice has a few scheduled coming up, and these are really interactive sort of golf seminars where people can watch and ask questions on particular parts of the game and get answers in real time from our instructors. We have sort of a little series that we call Revolution Golf TV, and these are interviews often with Peter Kessler, but not always, but they're with golf course designers. They're with other great teaching pros who maybe are not part of the regular Revolution Golf platform. We did an incredible series Peter did with Bob Toski, who's one of the godfathers of instruction. Right. And at 86 years young is still teaching almost every single day.
and playing golf all the time too. So there's that content available. We also, have RG Plus is sort of like, if you can imagine, Hulu Plus and Amazon Prime smashed together as well. So where on regular Revolution Golf there is some pre-roll video for advertisers and people like that, you don't have that experience with RG Plus. It's there's not the advertising sort of in your face like it might be on the regular Revolution Golf. It's I won't call it advertised free, because we have some programs coming up that are sponsored by some of the great brands in golf that I think everybody should see. So there will be an element of marketing through that. And then free shipping for our RG Plus people, just like Amazon Prime. So anybody who's RG Plus and buys anything from us, we supply that with free shipping. And then there's another host of things that we're going to be doing with RG Plus as we build that sort of subscriber. And it's a low price opportunity for for that person who really wants a more immersion into golf instruction, golf equipment, and golf travel. That's what RG Plus provides. And frankly, what we found is this. We are very happy that we can help lots of people get better at the game. But the 80-20 rule is very evident at Revolution Golf. So the 20% of the people who subscribe to RG Plus are the people who get that we see get the best results, who email us saying that they shot their lowest rounds, who tell us, their progress is better, whose handicaps have dropped, who are winning club tournaments or municipal tournaments of all sorts. So RG Plus is not for everybody, and we don't push it on everybody, but for those of the people who are really diehard, who really have the time and resources to commit to getting better, we see that all the time. And with RG Plus, we do the same thing as any of our products at Revolution Golf. If you don't get better, just let us know and we'll give your money back. We're not about taking your money and saying good luck. If you don't get the result that we guarantee, then you don't pay for it. And so that's just something that we are very passionate about at Revolution Golf, are those guarantees. Is for you to spend money, your hard-earned money, with us. We're going to give you a result just like that you're paying for. And if you don't get it, then we haven't done our job. So that's just sort of how we live at Revolution Golf.
That's great. No, that's great. Justin, just a couple more before we let you go, and it's more about synergies that we've had with some folks that are working with you. The wonderful folks over at Billy Casper Golf and Buffalo Communications. They're the folks that that we've had several guests through, and guys like Glenn Gray and their CEO Peter Hill, Andy Duchester, and Garrett Carter at Buffalo Communications. All great guys, and we've had the privilege to work with them. Talk about your relationship with Billy Casper Golf and Buffalo Communications.
Yeah, no, it's been terrific. They've helped us promote mostly the Gary Player experience, but it's been wonderful. I mean, these guys, we brought them on to help us with the Gary Player product, but they're all passionate golfers too, and they like Revolution Golf, and they've helped us much more than just with the Gary Player project. So that's been a really fun and nice thing for them to do. They're fun to work with. They're well connected into the golf space. They introduce us to all sorts of folks, and they've just been a joy to do business with, and have led to a lot of great opportunities like today. So we're thankful for.
Yeah. No, they're great guys. We are very privileged to have a relationship with them. Lastly, Jason Finley from Callaway Golf. Jason's been a guest on this show a number of times. We have certainly been privileged to hear about all their great technology and the things that they are doing over at Callaway Golf. I know you've had some relationship, obviously, with Mr. Player and the guys over at Callaway. Talk about Jason and your relationship with Callaway.
Yeah, I mean, when Jason invited us out not long ago, and we went, and it was really cool to go to Carlsbad and see their office and meet with Jason. I've also had several conversations on the phone with Chip Brewer, who is just an awesome guy. I think will continue to lead Callaway in the right way, and and continue to, produce great stuff for the game of golf to help people get better. Jason's a great guy. I think I really personally like the direction that Jason and his guys are going with Callaway, with a lot of their videos and helping people understand their product design. I mean, golf equipment is sort of in an interesting area, meaning there's been so much product pushed out into the marketplace in the last couple of years that it's become kind of confusing to people. The product cycle's really sped up after the white driver at Titleist sort of debuted and had its, at TaylorMade, not Titleist,
right.
Sort of was a big push. It was kind of in my time, there was the Metalwood at TaylorMade that was really massive. There was the Big Bertha that was really massive back over at Callaway, and then TaylorMade's time happened again with the white driver. And so the guys, Jason and his team, are really helping educate people on why they're continuing to push the envelope and come out with products all the time, and appreciate spending time with him. Look forward to doing it more in the future. And I tell you, that whole Carlsbad thing is sort of the Silicon Valley of golf. It's really cool to get out there if you're really into golf. Just driving around, you'll see, Cobra, Cleveland, or Cobra, TaylorMade, Titleist, Callaway. They're all right there. They're all neighbors. They all see each other at the same Starbucks every day. I think it's kind of funny how that all works out there. But love a relationship with Callaway. Look forward to growing it. I tell you, we've also at Revolution Golf have created a great relationship with Titleist, and are going to continue to do some stuff with them. I am totally fascinated with what goes into golf ball production, not only golf ball production, but research. And I think it's really interesting. I think it's a place in the game that it demands great responsibility, because if you talk to any of the greats, whether you talk about to Mr. Player or Mr. Nicklaus, the golf ball is the single thing that's changing the game so much in the last few years. And the folks over at Titleist I just think are so responsible and so interesting that the stuff they're putting, the research that they've put into it. And I've had the opportunity to go up to Massachusetts and walk through their ball plant and meet with some of the people that are leading Titleist right now. And every time I leave there, I feel like, the game is in a good place with the leadership that's involved, and from the guys at Titleist to the guys at Callaway who are helping lead that, because it takes a great responsibility for the game. And you'll be seeing more information from those folks through Revolution Golf in 2015 as well.
Wow, that's great stuff. The web address is revolutiongolf.com. Justin, how can our listeners follow you and Revolution Golf, both online, outside of just your website, but over social media as well?
Sure. I mean, we have the best way to follow us is to go to our website, obviously, and become a subscriber, whether that's free or an RG Plus member. We welcome you to come in either way that works, that helps you the most. And obviously, we are honored to have you as an RG Plus member. And then we also have a community on Facebook that, it's Revolution Golf on Facebook. We're somewhere around 86,000 people are on there, and it's a good way to communicate and keep up with our people. We also are on Twitter, I actually just started a Instagram too, because I have so many instances where I can personally take pictures, and that's Revolution Golf on Instagram too. But we are active in social media, but frankly, at this point in time, we spend most of our time building our content and building our subscriber and building our base around revolutiongolf.com. So that's probably the single best place to become more associated with us.
Well, Justin, thank you so much for being generous with your time and joining me this morning. You're outstanding. I hope you'll come back and join me again sometime, because that was a lot of fun, a lot of informative stuff. And especially when you've got your new platform launching in January, we'd love to hear all about that when you're ready to go.
Well, thank you first and foremost. It's always nice talking with people that have done their homework, and that makes me feel good and makes the interviews go so much better. So kudos to you, and I know that your listeners are fully aware of your ability to do that great. And I would be honored and privileged to be back on anytime in the new year when you guys want to talk about things at Revolution Golf or frankly anything golf. I eat and breathe it, and I think it's a big part of me, so I'm happy to participate in any way that I can get it out, and also find it a great honor to be able to speak in any way in front of our folks of both veterans and current military folks. It's a wonderful thing to be able to do.
Absolutely right, it is. All right, Justin, well, thank you again. We look forward to catching up with you real soon. In the meantime, happy holidays to you, everyone at Revolution Golf, and to your family as well.
Likewise to you, and I really appreciate it.
All right, take care, Justin. We'll catch up soon.
You got it. Have a good one.
All right, you too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Wow, I tell you what. Being able to talk to Justin, who has had such a wonderful run at Revolution Golf with coming out of the real estate success that he had, building something as powerful and as big as Revolution Golf is becoming. Is something that I certainly admire and appreciate him taking time out of his busy morning to come on and talk about it. And again, folks, Gary Player, A Game for Life, with Mr. Player and Peter Kessler, and the DVD is just, it's a treasure in and of itself. And I'm not saying that just because Justin was just on the show. We've had Mr. Player and Peter on the show a couple of times. Peter's been wonderful about joining us on multiple occasions. But the DVD is fantastic. If you love the game of golf, you've got to have this DVD or download it from the cloud, because you're absolutely going to plug that in and sit back and watch. And Mr. Player's lessons are fantastic. The stories he tells are fantastic. And you know how great Peter Kessler is, the voice of golf. He does such a masterful job, kind of leading Mr. Player through it all. And it is absolutely a great DVD, and I can't give it a high enough recommendation. It's absolutely fantastic. All right, before we close up shop, I want to let you know about, the great new book. You've heard us talk about it here over the last probably month or so on the show that's out. It's called A Golden 18, written by Roger Schiffman, and the photography is by one of our friends, one of the greatest photographers anywhere on the planet, Mr. Jim Mandeville. Jim, as you know, is the director of photography at the Nicklaus Companies. The book showcases some of Mr. Nicklaus's greatest course designs, and the stories about those courses and the photography is simply outstanding. In fact, like I said, every single week on this show, it's so good that you're really going to want a second copy of the book so you can take some of those pictures out and put frames on them, hang them on the wall. It's just absolutely stunning. To get your copy, go to nicklaus.com and hover over the Products and Partners section, and then click on Books and Videos. If you love golf and really just stunning photography of landscapes, you're going to love this book. All right, everybody, it's time to put a bow on this one. My sincere thanks once again to Justin Tupper for being such a wonderful guest with me this morning. And, we thank you the most for tuning in. We appreciate the fact that you make the choice to listen to this show, so thank you very much. Please also check out our sister show, Thursday Night Tailgate, with me, my co-host Bob Lazari, and our announcer Joe Lachanusa. That show airs live every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time on Blog Talk Radio, as well as on the Armed Forces Radio Network. You can hear it rebroadcast on Friday nights at the same time, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, over on our friends Boost Radio. So you can hear it over there as well. We're joined every week by legends from around the NFL and the Canadian Football League. So please check out that show. You can find us online. You can download or stream any of our archived episodes, and we've been on the air for 3.5 years. So we've got a lot of episodes over there, a lot of great content. You can go to our site, ThursdayNightTailgate.com, and you can listen to any of our archive episodes of this show by going to our site, nextonthetee.net. All right, everybody, thank you so much for being here this morning or streaming at whatever time you're doing it. We hope you'll come back and listen to us every week, Saturdays from starting at 10 o'clock Eastern Time on Blog Talk Radio and on iHeartRadio. But you can download it anytime and take us with you at your convenience. So many apps, so many ways to listen to us. We thank you for doing it. Until next week, hit 'em straight, my friends.